Hello and welcome to the Butler Collegian Newscast. I'm Catalina Gallegos. After Butler students began the Butler campaign, the Butler Connection is finally back with a new name, Butler Today's Daily Digest. This shows that speaking up on campus can make a difference. To subscribe to receive emails from the Butler Today's Daily Digest, you can do so at today.butler.edu. The vacancy in Butler University parking garage left by Pita Pit in 2017 has been filled. The new tenant is NextTech, a local nonprofit organization that creates equitable access to computer science curriculum and experiences for all K-12 Indiana students. Many students were expecting a new restaurant to take place at Pita Pit, but Vice President of Finance and Administration Bruce Eric said that the university had previously attempted to make agreements with several food vendors, but were not able to come to terms with both the university and the vendor. NextTech plans on holding an open house in the near future for all Butler students and faculty to attend. Now, Collegian reporter Chuck Levine is in the studio to talk about dorm culture. Chuck?
Thanks, Catalina. We're now joined by Collegian culture writer Lydia Zidan. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
So we're here to talk about your most recent article on dorm culture. What prompted you to write the article?
So I lived in Resco for the first semester and was slightly unsatisfied to the point where I commute now.
Okay.
And I've got a table at, that I sit with, and we call ourselves the transfer table because we're all transferring.
Really?
And then we got to talking about it during our collegian meeting. I started talking about the topic of transfer and if people felt there was animosity between students in Irvington and students in Resco and Ross. And then from transfer, we just started talking about the differences in dorms in general.
What were some of the things that you found from your research and people you talked to?
Overall, there's just a lot of miscommunication on both sides in Ross and in Irvington. And I don't think they're as different as it's like put out to be.
Right.
Irvington has problems with Ross because Ross assumes that all the kids in Irvington are super rich.
Right.
There's better facilities in Irvington than there is in
I
Ross.
live there, I know. Yeah.
And then in Ross, people feel like Irvington looks down on them. And I think that's sometimes the case because the facilities are less. And then there's just that actual physical distance with Irvington on one side of the campus and Ross on the other. So unless you're in class, you aren't really hanging out in the same common spaces. But at the end of the day, it's just miscommunication on both sides.
So it's like a miscommunication that leads to an economic divide?
Yeah.
Interesting. What are some of the things that you think Butler could do to sort of combat that sort of animosity?
Oh, yeah. Everyone that I talked to just talked about bringing Ross's facilities kind of up to par with even Resco. They're the only dorm with the communal bathrooms, for one. I know everyone's really unsatisfied with the HVAC system.
Okay.
Someone I talked to described Ross as having a dilapidated charm with a rampant mesothelioma.
Wow.
So if we could do something about ending that and just bring it up to a level where all students feel like there's an equal playing field.
For sure. That makes sense. Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it. And like, I don't know, I lived in Irvington last year. I live with people now who lived in Ross last year, and there's no like bad blood between us for that, but it is definitely interesting. Well, thanks so much for coming by, and back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Chuck. Butler University has been named a top producing institution of Fulbright U.S. Student Program recipients for the 2019-2020 school year. Butler had 16 applicants, 4 of which were awarded the scholarship. Fulbright is primarily funded and led by Congress to the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. According to the Fulbright website, the U.S. government partners with over 160 countries to offer international, educational, and cultural exchange programs to those who are passionate and accomplished in their area of expertise. A Fulbright student program workshop will be held February 25th from 1 to 2 in Atherton 326. A representative from Fulbright will present an overview of the program and talk one-on-one with students about their potential interest in the program. Despite harsh weather conditions the past couple of weeks, Butler students have been lining up outside Hinkle hours before tip-off. Butler had sellout games against Villanova and Xavier, with students starting to line up outside at noon for the 6:30 game. The general admission-style seating allows students to choose their seats at the games. Having assigned seats would make the line shorter, but would give students less seating options. Manager of the Ticket and Fan Development, Rob Alakainen said that Butler men's basketball program has had every student ticket claimed for the Big East games and operated a standby line at each game. Now we head over to Collegian's global analyst, Kat Embry, with this week's edition of Kat's Corner.
Hi guys, this week it's Random Acts of Kindness Week, which is something I think we all need when the work is building up and the weather's pretty grey outside. This is your week to be a Ractivist, which I've been told means a Random Acts of Kindness activist. It can be anything large or small, but the group behind the week is challenging you to perform one random act of kindness once a day this week. Don't be daunted, because there's lots of things that you can do that don't require much effort and are completely free. Maybe when you're driving, make room for a car who wants to enter your lane, or give a stranger a genuine compliment. Leave a delivery person a thank you note, or you could donate blood or donate to a good cause, or even just text a friend you haven't seen in a while. Being kind is something that we're taught to do, but it actually makes such a difference. One random act of kindness can significantly reduce symptoms of stress and depression, according to scientists. Being kind costs us nothing, and it's always worth it. And if you need any more reasons to be that little bit extra kind, then studies show that spreading kindness not only helps others feel better about themselves, but it can also give a boost for the giver's health and happiness, making them live longer. It's a win-win for all. So get out there and be kind, Bulldogs. You're making the world a better place, and remember, any kindness you give to others is also a gift to yourself. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Kat. Now to bring things closer to home, we have Jake Bedell to get us all caught up on the world of Butler sports. Jake, what's going on?
Well, last Wednesday inside Hinkle Fieldhouse, we hosted the rivalry, Xavier versus Butler. Only 118 miles separate the two schools. Only one was going to come out on top. Lavelle Jordan's thoughts on the rivalry? It's fun. It's fun when we win. So you certainly had some fun on Wednesday night. First half, Butler was electric in the shooting department, 44% from the field and 6 three-pointers, half of which came from a surprising player, Henry Badley. He finished with 9 points and 3 boards. The second half, Jordan Tucker's turn to take over. He put up double figures, scoring 10, but also getting some nice support from Sean McDermott. Each player contributing, everyone got on the floor and had at least 4 points at the end of the night. Dawgs win round 1 against the Musketeers, 66-61. They'll close out the season in Cincy for round 2. Saturday afternoon, the Hoyas from the nation's capital came to town. This one didn't have a happy ending. Dawgs playing without both Aaron Thompson and Derek Smits. They both suffered injuries late in the game against Xavier. What does that mean? More Tucker. Clock ticking down in the half. Buzzer beater to bring the game within 1. They're getting pretty good at these, aren't they? Second half, neck and neck most of the way. Badley throws it down to tie things up at 35. 9 to go. Baldwin knocks down a jumper. He finished with 17. But Georgetown's 3-ball just kept on falling. Nearly 67% of their chances beyond the arc wound up finding Twine. Down the stretch, the Hoyas pull away, and Butler comes up shy, 73-66. On the docket this week, Butler has got some tough opponents on the road. Number 16 Seton Hall and number 15 Creighton are ready to host the Dogs. There should be comfort in knowing that Thompson is expected to return to the lineup against the Pirates. Still, the importance of these games should not be underestimated. To explain why next week may be Butler's toughest yet, Chelsea Groves is here for another edition of the Collegian Basketball Breakdown.
Hey guys, Chelsea Groves here with the Collegian Basketball Breakdown. I want to go back in time when Butler started 3-0 in Big East play. Now number 16 Creighton was conference win number 3 for the Bulldogs on January 4th, but now number 15 Seton Hall took one a week and a half later at Hinkle. And since then, Butler has won 4 of its last 10 and tied for 5th place with Providence. They'll see these top 225 teams again on the road this week, but what happened with this Butler team since early January after that hot start? A lot of things. They've battled injuries with Christian David, Derek Smits, and Aaron Thompson. They've lost consecutive games in the Big East, but still wound up at number 15 in the net top 16 and a number 4 seed in the East region. This was a team that wasn't known for turning the ball over and battling a ton of injuries at the beginning of the season. I think at this point in time, you just have to think about these 2 games only. If Butler goes 2-0, they're back in that top 16 conversation, and it proves that this team is still capable of playing how they did in the non-conference season, as well as being one of the top teams in the Big East. And if it loses both, Butler goes from the top 4 seed conversation to still having work to do to make the tournament. Nothing is jeopardized yet if the Bulldogs fail to win either of these games, but that is just how important this week is. Jake, back to you.
Thanks, Chelsea. Action on the diamond started off this past weekend for Butler baseball. The Dogs took the trip to South Carolina for games against George Mason and North Carolina A&T. After handing the Aggies a 4-2 loss Friday afternoon, Butler exploded for 15 runs against the Patriots on day 2. After leading 6-4 through the first 4 innings, the Bulldogs added to their lead and pulled away thanks to a 4-run 8th inning. Nick Ortega went 3 for 5 at the plate, and Zach Giroux drove in a pair of runs en route to a 15-8 win. Later in the afternoon, a pitching duel took place in the second game against the Aggies. Jack Myers, have a day. 14 strikeouts, no runs against him. Jack Pilcher came in for the save, and Butler got the W 2-1. They'll have North Carolina for the next 3 matchups the next weekend. In softball, the ladies dished out some damage to their opponents. They climbed to 8-3 on the season following a 4-2 weekend in much nicer weather in Florida. 23 runs scored in total over the weekend, 6 of which coming from Carly Ricketts. She tied for the most on the team with 11. And did I mention she can pitch? Get this, in the last game of the trip, it ended in a 3-4 loss to Presbyterian, but she threw 194 pitches and didn't give up a single earned run. Talk about a two-way player. They've got games on deck for next weekend. They'll take part in the Liberty Invitational in Virginia next. You want to talk about Kat's segment next? I thought that was really, really nice to see.
Yeah, I feel like random acts of kindness. I feel like that's just a great thing to live by every day. Do you have any thoughts what you're going to do?
I just try to live, do at least one every single day. But, I mean, the more the better.
The more the better.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's all for this week's Butler Collegian Newscast. To stay up to date with all things news on Butler's campus, visit us at butlercollegian.com or on Twitter at the Butler Collegian. I'm Catalina Gallegos.
And I'm Jake Bedell.
Have a great week, dogs.